Welcome to the State of Mind Virtual Speaker Series. This series has been developed to provide education and support to youth, caregivers, and educators during this challenging time. This series is a collaboration between two local nonprofits, 1 in 5 and MindPeace, and various community mental health partners. We're glad you're here to educate yourself and to learn how to keep your brain in a healthy state of mind.
Hello, and thank you for joining me for this State of Mind Speaker Series brought to you by 1 in 5 and MindPeace. My name is Pete Mesrin, and I'm a clinical counselor from Cincinnati Children's Hospital Adapting for Life program. I'm going to be talking about self-care and managing difficult emotions. Hello there. Today, and any other day you watch this video, watch as much as you like, it's totally free. I'm going to talk to you about self-care and managing difficult emotions, which in my mind go hand in hand. A lot of times and in a lot of situations, it feels like we have no control or influence over what we are feeling. I've worked with many teenage people that say, I'm just an angry person, I can't control it, I just go off. Our emotions are not just something that happen to us that we need to just ride the wave until they're over. There are many things that we can do to influence them and respond differently to them. We all get overwhelmed sometimes. We all get stressed, and it can feel that we are experiencing more than we can handle. And certainly during these unprecedented times in our lives, we've all had those experiences, if not many of them. If it feels like we are constantly dealing with negative experiences and are powerless to change or do anything about them, that's very overwhelming. It's depressing. It's maddening. That's why it is so important that we be active in managing our stress and caring for ourselves. We're going to talk about a couple of things today. One is how to recognize when we are stressed and ways to manage our experiences when we're feeling that way. The other is to incorporate regular healthy behaviors to take care of ourselves and keep stress from building up in our body. The first step is to be aware of when you need to do something to feel better. In our program, we teach 4 areas to pay attention to during times of stress. The first 2 are our thoughts and our feelings. Some other lectures, topics in this series will give you great information on mindfulness. I suggest watching those as well for more in-depth information on the topic, but essentially, mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to and being aware of our experiences. It is really important to pay regular attention to our thoughts and feelings, not just during stressful times. For many of us, our thoughts and feelings get all jumbled together, and we're not fully aware of the different experiences at both levels. Like with our feelings, our thoughts can seem overwhelming and like we have no control or influence over them. They just happen to us. And like emotions that don't feel good, if our thoughts are negative or troubling, we tend to avoid them. We need to do the opposite. When we avoid our feelings, they don't go away, they tend to get bigger. Have you ever seen somebody go like way off over something really small? Typically that person isn't that mad about spilling their Coke. There are other things that they have been holding on to, and when we get upset, it all comes out together. Paying regular attention to our thoughts and feelings is very important. Each level gives us different information that helps us figure out what we need to do to care for ourselves. For example, let's say you're feeling very annoyed in class. Pay attention to what you're thinking about. So Jenna keeps tapping her pencil on the desk. That's so annoying. She always does this. I'm so mad about what she said to my boyfriend the other day. All of that is good information. And it tells you that you need to do something about the situation and maybe why the feeling is stronger than a typical reaction to just tapping a pencil. There is a lot of wisdom in our emotions. They tell us what we need to do in a certain situation. So don't push them away. Pay attention. You won't get overwhelmed. You won't feel that way forever. It will pass. And when you have a strong thought, notice what you're feeling. What emotions are associated with these thoughts. And we'll come back in a little bit to what to do about those thoughts and feelings, how you can work with them. 2 other areas we discuss in our program are paying attention to our triggers and our cues. Triggers are situations, events, people, something that happens outside of us that prompts us to think of something related. So when you have a thought that something is upsetting you, try and think what triggered it, what caused me to think this way or experience the emotions related to it. Many of our triggers or situations are things that happen over and over for us. And if we keep having a negative reaction and want to change that, being aware of what triggers that reaction is a very important step. That way you can anticipate what your reaction will be and plan to handle it differently yourself. Because that's all we can control is our reaction. We can't keep the other person from acting in a way that's going to trigger us or upset us. We can't avoid our triggers. We have to learn how to respond to them. Lastly, we talk about paying attention to our internal cues. So internal cues are physical sensations or changes that happen in the body that let us know that something is going on. Some examples are noticing your muscles tense up, your hands are balled into a fist, you've got butterflies in your stomach, getting a stress headache, feeling like you want to punch something, your face is flush. And usually these changes are linked to an emotion. So paying attention when we experience them, again, another way to help us figure out what's going on. All four of these areas, our thoughts, feelings, triggers, and cues, are related, and they give us different information about what we need to do to care for ourselves and resolve that situation. For example, let's say your parents yell at you. That is a trigger, something that happens outside of us in the environment, right? And you notice yourself thinking this isn't fair, they don't care, they don't understand. On a physical level, maybe you notice your head hurts or your shoulders feel tight. Again, those are your internal cues. Then you notice yourself feeling sad, hurt, angry, etc. Whatever you notice first, you want to check in with those other three areas, right? So I notice my head hurts and start paying attention to my feelings. I'm really stressed out and sad, so I pay attention to my thoughts. This isn't fair, they don't care, then I connect it to the triggers. Yeah, I'm really upset because my parents were yelling at me. This lets me know that I need to do something to relieve my stress and to talk to my parents to try to resolve that situation. All four of those areas also influence our behaviors, which again can feel like a reflex, an automatic reaction, right? Like when you go to the doctor and they whack you on the knee with one of those little hammers and your leg shoots up. If our behaviors seem like that, just an automatic reaction, we may think that they're out of our control. But if we are aware of our experiences, of what we were experiencing, it tells us what we need, and we can make choices that lead to a better outcome or result of our behavior. We'll get back to that in a little bit. For now, we're going to talk about ways to care for ourselves and cope with difficult emotions. And I really wish I could give you one or two things to do and they would work instantly every time you're upset or struggling to make you and everybody else feel better. But feelings don't work that way. There's no one size fits all. And we're all different people, right? So it's a process of finding out what works best for you and having lots of options for different settings. So some basic ideas of taking care of ourselves. We want to add things that are good for our mind, our body, and our feelings. All three of these areas influence each other, and doing things that make us feel good at each level is important for our overall well-being. So working with our thoughts, there is a lot going on in the world, in our country, in our community, that is overwhelming and out of our control right now. Thinking about it and paying attention to the news or people's opinions on social media can add to our stress and sense of helplessness. So one tip is to unplug. Spend some time each day in a COVID-free, politic-free zone. And again, pay attention to your thoughts. They tell you if you need to resolve any triggers you are facing. And we can work with our thoughts. For starters, find some positive influences. If we only hear about negative things, we'll feel bad. If we pay attention to stressful news all day, we'll feel stressed. On the other hand, if we think about positive things, we tend to feel better. So what are some new areas of interest? What are some things that you've been interested in and never pursued? Me? I'm learning how to play this baby. I'm not very good yet, but I'm going to stick with it. Who are the people that you can still laugh and joke with? Talk to those people. Books, shows, music that are positive and light can influence your thinking. Next, we want to learn to challenge negative thoughts. Usually when we think something negative, it comes from somewhere. It's something someone told us or we've heard before. Our thoughts are not facts, but many times we react to them like they are. What we want to do is catch them. Notice when you're thinking negative thoughts and work with them. We may feel like a certain situation, the Rona, is hopeless and may never end. That's not true. The future is not written yet. But that thought can affect how we feel. Another example, if I think there is no way I can pass a test and I'm going to fail, that may lead to me feeling hopeless, and that could lead to negative behaviors, such as not studying or not asking for help. If I catch that negative thought and counter it with a positive thought, I'm going to try and do my best, I tend to feel better and choose better behaviors, like studying or asking for help if I'm overwhelmed. Giving yourself a pep talk or a positive reminder for the day is helpful, especially during troubling times. Remember, this too shall pass. That is one of my favorite sayings, and it helps me through the times when I'm feeling hopeless. We will get through these tough times because all things end. Even the best of times come to an end. Even glorious, beautiful summer vacation with all of its freedom and all the cool stuff we don't get to do at other times of the year, not as much this year, but that comes to an end as well, right? The same is true with difficult times. Things will get better. So keep that in mind, right? So what is a personal positive saying for you? What is something that you can tell yourself that will help you achieve your goals, small or large, something to help get you through whatever you are facing right now? And sometimes thinking back on our past experiences when things were tough and we got through it, that helps us realize that we'll get there again. One practice to help us increase our awareness of thoughts and feelings is to start paying attention to your thoughts and feelings after you watch something negative, and then again after you watch something positive, and notice the differences. All right, so another thing we're going to focus on is relaxing our body. Our emotions have a physical component to them, which our internal cues tip us off to, right? I think really good example of this is with anger. When we're mad, we tend to have more energy, we talk louder. Some people describe feeling physically hot. We may tense up our fists. We carry stress in our bodies. For example, myself, I notice tightness in my shoulders when I'm stressed. So stretching them out helps relieve that tightness. Regularly tensing and relaxing muscles from head to toe, and I have a colleague that says it's better to go toe to head, just the way our body flows and stuff, is a great way to keep stress from building up. So you tense and you relax. There are a lot of free guided relaxation imageries online. I suggest checking some of those out. Doing things regularly to relax our bodies is great self-care, and again, it keeps stress from building up. Another way to think about it is if we're pretty relaxed already, when a trigger hits, it's not going to be as likely to push us over the edge as it would be if we're already pretty stressed out. Kind of like a car, right? If the engine is revving pretty high and then you step on the gas, it's going to redline and it's going to do damage to the engine. But if you're not going that fast and the engine's not revving that high, you step on the gas, it just goes up a little bit, right? So is our stress level. If our stress levels are low, we can handle stressful situations more calmly. So do things to take care of our body is very important in reducing our stress level, right? Regular exercise is great for stress reduction. If you're not an athlete, you don't need to become one, but maybe trying and taking some more walks or a bike ride. As an aside, if you run or lift weights or however you like to work out, try thinking about something that is making you mad while you're working out. It's a great little boost and a really good outlet for your anger. Actively try to relax. Again, the mindfulness-based lectures will give you a lot of good ideas on how to do this, but briefly here, our body has a stress response. Part of that is we take short, shallow breaths when we're stressed. Slow, deep breaths will calm our body down and will help counteract that stress response, pull us out of it so we can feel calm and again make better decisions. If you practice this regularly by taking 5 or 10 slow, deep breaths before bed, for an example, you train your body to relax and it will be used to responding to that type of breathing. When you're stressed, it'll be more effective. One technique I really like is called square breathing. So basically you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, and you repeat 4 times. So it's the 4 by 4 by 4 by 4 square, right? So Wow, I'm really relaxed. What was I talking about? Okay, so that long exhale is really important. Exhaling is tied to the relaxation response of the body. So if we can lengthen our exhale during deep breaths, it does way even more to relax ourselves. So another way to take care of your body is to have a good routine. So routines encourage health and self-care. They also can keep us motivated during times like summer vacation or quarantine, where it's really easy to kind of waste time and to fall into some unhealthy habits. So keeping a reasonable bedtime and getting plenty of sleep, that helps also reduce our stress levels. Keeping a schedule makes it easy to incorporate new activities such as exercise. So try to get up at about the same time every day, eat your meals about the same time, get exercise, talk to your friends all at the same time. That helps our bodies get into a rhythm. And there's no stress about what comes next. It helps alleviate that just because we just kind of know. Watch what you eat as well. Too much caffeine or sugar can make you feel anxious. Again, it's all connected, right? Outlets for our feelings. We need to develop healthy outlets for our feelings and use them regularly, not just when things really build up. So how do we find what works best for us? One place that I like to start, sorry about that, is by looking at what we do when we do it wrong. So by that I mean sometimes we all get to the point where it's too much and we lose it or go off, right? So what do you do in those moments? Do you throw things? Do you yell? Do you punch somebody? Do you make rude comments? Do you isolate? Go be by yourself and avoid others? All those things tend to bring about negative consequences, right? Except maybe isolating. But that can be detrimental if you do it too much or for too long of a period of time. But with the others, by consequences, I mean we tend to get in trouble if we do those things. People are mad at us. It can hurt our relationships. Maybe we have to pay for damages or broke something of our own in the process. Consequences aside, there is a release. We're getting our emotions out. I've worked with many people that get angry and punch walls. I don't know what the wall did to them in the first place, but that's kind of how they get it out. But there is a moment after they throw that punch, before they hit the wall and hurt their hand or do damage or get in trouble or all those consequences set in, where they're getting their anger out. So in working with that person, that's our starting point. Physical outlets work for them. We just need to do it in a way to maximize the emotional outlet and minimize the consequence. So punch a pillow, punch a punching bag if you have one. Lay on your mattress and kick and hit. If you are a thrower, throw something soft, throw it at a place where it's not going to do any damage, but get it out. Shout out to my yelling friends out there. Same concept. If you yell or say things that you later regret when you're upset, you're prone to more verbal outlets. So Coping Skills 101, here's your journal. Write about your feelings. For some of us that works great, for others not so much. So they wouldn't want to focus on those things. They'd want to try something different, right? I type more than I write. It's easier, so as a result, it's easier for me to express myself that way. If I'm frustrated at work, I'll open the Word doc and let it go off there and then delete it. That's an important step. If you're used to angry texting, open your notes app instead and get it out in there first. If you think it's a message the other person needs to hear, sleep on it first. Get the anger out, then rewrite your message when you are calm and constructive. The other person will be more likely to hear you and what you're trying to say that way, instead of just feeling attacked, reacting and defending themselves based off of your anger. Another thing for my verbal people, scream into a pillow, go outside if there's woods nearby and yell, vent to a friend, but get it out in a manner that you are used to in an acceptable way. If you isolate, that can be good. You know when you need to be alone, and that's a strength, right? But you may tend to carry too much around. And if we're holding on to too many old emotions, that can make us very sad and can lead to depression. For you, taking a risk and finding somebody to open up could be a really good way for you to not carry things around. So think about the situations you find yourself in and the triggers you might encounter there. Think about ahead of time, where are my outlets? Kind of like a fire drill at school. Here's our class exit strategy, right? If I get mad and need to throw or hit something, what and where am I going to do it? But we want to have a lot of options and specific ones for specific settings. Some things are okay at home and not okay at school. You can't throw a pillow against the wall in science class. All those beakers and stuff are really expensive. But maybe squeeze one of these guys instead. Helps you get it out. It's that physical release, right? Music is powerful. When I work with people, a lot of times they say that's like their number one coping skill, listening to music. It can elicit strong emotional reactions. It can prompt us to think deeply on certain topics. We have to use music as a coping skill intentionally to help us cope and care for ourselves. If you're feeling down and play a sad song, it might make you feel sadder. That can be good for expressing the sadness, but we also need to not dwell there. So if you're feeling down and like you can't or don't want to do anything, if you choose not to, you may feel worse about yourself for not doing that. So pump up the jams, right? Play the music that gets you motivated. If you're really worrying about things, and again, plenty to worry about these days, right? Play something that chills you out. Just generally speaking, pay attention to what you are thinking and feeling while you're playing your favorite songs. That's another little mindfulness exercise for you. And as an aside, have you ever heard a new song and it just jives with you and you just feel like it was written just for you? All the words have a lot of meaning for you. And then the more you listen to it and more closely, you find out it says something entirely different. That's what we call projection in psychology. You and we, because I do this all the time, are projecting our own meaning onto those lyrics. It's kind of interesting. So trying new things takes time. So we want to be patient with ourselves. Remember, we all struggle. We all do things we regret, but it can get better. Any feeling, any situation can get better. And it will only change and get better by working on it and trying new things. Behavior change is tough. And it's not going to feel like it works overnight. You're not going to get the same release with the substitute behavior as you do with the way when we do it wrong right away, right? But if you stick with it, if you practice regular self-care so that things don't build up, you will get there. Also, remember, it's okay to ask for help. And if you reach out to someone else when you're struggling, chances are they can relate. They've been there themselves. It's also good to create a plan, another fire drill exit strategy type of thing for getting help. So who are the adults in your life? Who are the friends that you can talk to when you're struggling? There are many people that can and want to help you feel better. You just have to take that chance and reach out. So to survive and thrive during these challenging times and anything that life throws at us, we are going to pay attention to our thoughts and our feelings. Remember, they tell us what we need to do to care for ourselves and how to resolve challenging situations. We're going to identify our triggers and our cues. What are the situations that stress you out, and how could you respond differently so that there are better outcomes? And cues, what happens physically in your body that lets you know when you're stressed, right? We're going to work with our thoughts by unplugging from too much negative news or social media. We're going to actively seek out positive influences. We're going to challenge negative thoughts. We're going to give ourselves positive reminders or pep talks that help us through difficult situations. And we're going to do things every day to care for our bodies. Exercise, relaxation, healthy routine, right? And we're going to find and practice healthy outlets for our emotions, starting to utilize our style of expression, right? That's how we begin. So hopefully this helps. Remember, this too shall pass, but in the meantime, the things that we do to care for ourselves can make it better. Positive, healthy behaviors can help us influence our emotional experience. Hang in there, my friends. Thank you for spending this time with me. Please visit the 1 in 5 and Mind Peace websites for additional resources and more State of Mind videos.
A special thank you to our State of Mind speakers and to you for joining us. More videos and educational resources can be found at 1 in 5's website. If you feel like you or your child is in need of professional support, therapists are available. Please refer to MindPeace's school-based or community resource page. For a mental health crisis or emergencies, patients and families are encouraged to contact their current mental health provider first. This allows the mental health provider who knows your child best to provide support and direction. If your child does not have a mental health provider and they are experiencing a non-life-threatening mental health crisis, you are encouraged to contact the Psychiatric Intake Response Center at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. 513 636-4124. Call 911 or go to the emergency department if you are experiencing a medical emergency, a life-threatening mental health crisis, or are directed to go there by a medical provider. This will help limit the spread of COVID-19 in our community and allow our emergency departments to care for patients with the most critical needs first.